Thank you for joining PureMG University. Today we'll be discussing the requirements for manufactured homes with our conventional FHA, VA, and USDA products. However, before we begin, we would like to advise that while every effort has been made to ensure the reliability of the webinar content, PureMG's product profiles and their updates are the official statements of PureMG, and in the event of any discrepancies between the information in this webinar and the product profiles will always supersede the information provided here. But first, we are going to start by explaining the differences between manufactured homes and modular construction. A manufactured home is a structure that is transportable in one or more sections. In traveling mode, the home is 10 feet or more in width and 40 feet or more in length. It is designed and constructed to the Federal Manufactured Construction and Safety Standards. Existing construction for manufactured housing is defined as a manufactured home that has been permanently installed on a site from 1 year or more prior to the date of the application. On the other hand, modular construction is also a factory-built home, but is treated the same as a stick-built housing, as the parts of modular home are constructed in the factory and then transported to the site and built there. In this webinar, we will cover the requirements for the manufactured homes for the products it is being offered on, which are FHA, Agency Fannie Mae, and Agency Freddie Mac, VA Standard and High Balance, and USDA. First, we will be covering manufactured housing information and general requirements that apply to all products that allow this property type. But before we look at each program, we will take a look at some of the specific underwriting requirements that PureMG has in addition to all agency requirements. Second review/signature of property appraisal is required by the operations manager or equivalent. Tax transcripts, 1040 as appropriate, required. Stamped returns are not allowed, and a max 10 acres is allowed. Some of the manufactured housing requirements include engineer structural cert containing specific verbiage to meet agency guidelines are required. Please note, for conventional, that means it is only needed if there are structural changes that are not required to be inspected by a state agency. Engineer must, when required, be licensed in the state that the property is located in. Appraisal must contain the VIN numbers, and if not, proof of the same must be provided via Institute of Building Technology and Safety, IBTS. Appraisal must include photos of HUD labels. Be sure the photos are clear enough to be read, as oftentimes we are unable to see the needed information. Appraisal should not have evidence that the unit has been moved from its original installation site. Manufactured homes must have a properly enclosed crawl space with a continuous permanent foundation type construction. The perimeter enclosure of the crawl space, if separate from supporting the foundation, must be designed to resist all forces to which it may be subject without transmitting to the building superstructure any movements or effects caused by frost heave, soil settlement, or the shrinking or swelling of expansive soils. Be adequately secure to the perimeter of the unit to exclude entry of vermin and water and allow proper ventilation of the crawl space. If perimeter enclosure is non-load bearing and compromised of lightweight material, there must be adequate backing, such as concrete, masonry, or treated wood, to permanently attach and support the skirting. All manufactured homes must have an affixed HUD certification labels, which are also known as seals or tags, attached to the exterior, never detached and then reattached, of each section of the home. If labels are missing, a recent HUD certification verification letter is issued by the Institute for Building Technology and Safety, IBTS, must be in the file. Additions and structural modifications can be eligible, provided an engineer's inspection report is obtained that certifies that these changes and/or additions were made in accordance with the HUD manufactured home construction safety standards. If there was a modification, then the addition or modification is treated like a conventional stick-built home and should comply with the applicable building codes of the local jurisdiction and the MHCSS. Note that some states require a state agency to approve all modifications to manufactured homes once they leave the factory, and the appraiser is responsible for knowing the local regulations and must confirm the property is eligible. In selecting appropriate comparables on a manufactured home appraisal, the appraiser must keep certain things in mind. They must select comparable sales of similar manufactured homes to address the marketability and the comparability of a manufactured home. For example, multi-width homes to multi-width homes. They must use a minimum of 3 comparable sales of similar manufactured homes. and use either site-built housing or a different type of factory-built housing as the third comparable sale. They must also provide an explanation for his or her choice for the third comparable sale and must also make and support appropriate adjustments. Older sales may be used if an appraiser cannot locate a true comparable. However, they must be located in a competing neighborhood so that a baseline can be established for the sales comparison analysis. Combining vacant land sales with the contract purchase price of the home in order to create comparable sales is not allowed, but this type of information can be used as additional supporting documentation. A detailed and supported cost approach to value is required for all manufactured homes, which must contain the information indicated on the Form 1004C, which should provide the information necessary for an appraiser to recognize differences in manufactured home construction's quality, understand the difference between the comparable sales and the subject property, extract from the market appropriate adjustments for the sales comparison analysis, and identify sales of manufactured homes that are similar enough to the subject property to use as comparable sales. Please note, the cost approach is not required for VA purposes, but may be completed to supplement the indicated value in the sales comparison approach. Additional information will be provided on this topic later in the VA section. There are other sources of manufactured housing data, such as the NADA Manufactured Housing Appraisal Guide, which lists general manufactured home depreciated replacement values based on original factory construction categories, and offers a step-by-step process for arriving at the average retail book value for the manufactured home and can be used to develop a cost approach. Marshall & Swift's Residential Cost Handbook is another source and provides information that enables the user to arrive at an estimate of the cost of the manufactured home when it is new, as well as the replacement cost, based on things such as construction quality. An explanation of the items that enables the appraiser to support his or her conclusion of the overall construction quality of the manufactured home. In order to meet permanent foundation requirements, the manufactured home must be built on permanent foundation that is in compliance with the HUD Permanent Foundations Guide for Manufactured Housing. An engineer cert, when required by the agency, must also be obtained and must attest to the foundation that it is in compliance with the PFG-MH and must be in the file. Manufactured homes located in flood zones A and V are not eligible without one of the following: FEMA Letter of Map Amendment, FEMA Letter of Map Revision, recent elevation certification by licensed engineer or surveyor showing that the grade beneath the home is at or above the 100-year flood zone elevation. Ineligible property types and financing includes a manufactured home that is not titled as real estate, a manufactured home that was installed or occupied previously at any other site or location. The home may only have moved from the manufacturer's or dealer's lot to the current site of the home. Construction to permanent financing. All manufactured housing units and land must be classified and taxed as real estate to be eligible. The preliminary title report or final title policy must reflect the commitment or issuance of the appropriate ALTA endorsement requirement to validate the home is treated as real property. The deed of trust or mortgage must include a complete legal description that includes land and manufactured unit details regarding manufacturer name, model, year, serial number, size, and any other information required by state of law to identify a manufactured home. Next, we will be covering manufactured housing information requirements that apply to our FHA product. We will take a look at some more specific program requirements, starting with the FHA program. With the FHA, credit underwriting requirements are the same for manufactured homes as they are for stick-built properties. For retail loans, a manual underwriting is also allowed. For wholesale and correspondent loans, a U.S. approval is required, and manual underwriting is not allowed. These are specific HUD requirements for Title II manufactured homes, which include have a floor area of not less than 400 square feet, be constructed after June 15, 1976. Manufactured homes produced prior to that date are ineligible for insured financing. Be classified and subject to taxation as real estate. Must have not been installed or occupied previously at any other site or location. Home may have only been moved from the manufacturer's or dealer's lot to the current site of the home. The mortgage must cover both the manufactured unit and its site and shall have a term of not more than 30 years. Be built and remain on a permanent chassis. designed to be used as a dwelling with a permanent foundation built to HUD and FHA criteria. The finished grade elevation beneath the manufactured home, or if a basement is used, shall be at or above the 100-year flood plain. On FHA only, new construction is allowed. New construction manufacturing housing applies to manufactured housing properties that are at the time of appraisal, proposed construction, under construction, or existing for less than 1 year, 100% complete, and never owner occupied. Stages of completion. For properties that are considered new construction, the file must contain all required documentation for new construction manufactured housing, including title showing that the manufactured home and the land are classified as real property. If there were 2 existing titles at the time of funding, to ensure that all state or local requirements for proper satisfaction and purging of the title certificates have been met, and the subject property is classified as real estate prior to the endorsement. To be eligible, the appraisal must have 3 recent closed like comparables, and second appraisal may be required at underwriting discretion. Single-wide manufactured homes are not allowed. Manufactured housing condo and PUD units are allowed. Additionally, the final lender title insurance policies for manufactured housing properties must include the ALTA Endorsement 7 or similar state-specific endorsement affirming the unit and land as one. For a manufactured home certified based on the construction requirements of Fannie Mae's MH Advantage or Freddie Mac's Choice Home program, the appraiser must include at least 2 comparable sales with similar certification when available. If less than 2 comparable MH Advantage or Choice Home sales are available, the appraiser may utilize other factory-built or site-built construction and must provide detailed justification to support the appraiser's selection of comparable properties and the adjustments made for dissimilarities to the subject property. A manufactured home certified based on the construction requirements of Fannie Mae's MH Advantage or Freddie Mac's Choice Home programs must have Fannie Mae's MH Advantage sticker or Freddie Mac's Choice Home label affixed near the HUD data plate. The appraiser must include photos of the Fannie Mae's MH Advantage manufacturer sticker or Freddie Mac's Choice Home label in the appraisal report for the manufactured home to meet the documentation requirements. This sale comparison guide only pertains to subject properties that are constructed to MH Advantage or Choice Home standards and does not remove other FHA requirements for manufactured housing, such as engineer report to certify PFG-MH or be classified as real estate. The appraisal must be completed on Fannie Mae Form 1004-C and clearly support the value and marketability and property's compliance with agency guidelines, and any repair completion certification must be completed on HUD Form 92051. No outstanding repair conditions or open escrow holdbacks are permitted. The engineer's cert must be prepared by the actual licensed engineer or architect who must personally inspect the property. He or she may not complete the certification based on photos taken by an assistant. The engineer's cert must be on a letterhead with the engineer's or architect's signature, their professional seal, and their state license number. An engineer's cert is not required if the transaction is an FHA to FHA manufactured home refinance that has not had any modifications to either the foundation or the structure at the time of the initial FHA loan and the initial engineer's cert. An engineer's cert is also not required for FHA to HUD RIO purchases. Next, we'll be covering manufactured housing information requirements that apply to our agency Fannie Mae and agency Freddie Mac. We will now take a look at some of the requirements for the agency DU portfolio product. All manufactured home properties must be primary residences or second homes. They must be underwritten by desktop underwriter or loan product advisor. Manual underwriting is not allowed. There are some restrictions on transaction types. Owner-occupied purchase and rate and term and cash out is allowed. Second home purchase and rate and term transactions are allowed. Second home cash out is not allowed, and all non-owner occupied transactions are not allowed. Manufactured homes utilizing the agency Fannie Mae and agency Freddie Mac programs are available on owner-occupied and second home one-unit properties. Both purchase and refinances are allowed. Additionally, lender-paid MI or no MI is not allowed. Non-traditional credit is not allowed. The borrower must provide a minimum down payment of 5%. This down payment must come from the borrower's own funds unless the LTV or CLTV is less than or equal to 80% of the borrower is purchasing a one-unit primary residence and meets all the requirements to use gifts, grant funds, or funds received from an employer. You'll notice that mortgage insurance rates for manufactured homes are different than the rates for stick-built properties and are shown here. The criteria for manufactured homes on the agency DU portfolio include that manufactured homes must be built and attached to a permanent foundation and remain on a permanent chassis with the towing hitch, wheels, and axles removed. Be at least 12 feet wide and have a minimum of 600 square feet of gross living area. Be permanently connected to a septic tank or other sewer system and to other utilities in accordance to local and state requirements. Be on a foundation system that is appropriate for the soil conditions for the site and meet local and state codes. And be owned fee simple. As with the FHA product, manufactured homes that have had an additional or a structural modification may still be eligible. If the property has met the state's agency requirements to approve modifications to the property, and there is confirmation that the property has met these requirements, the home may be eligible. For states that do not have requirements to approve modifications, then the property must be inspected by a licensed professional engineer who can provide a certification that the modifications were completed in accordance with the HUD's Manufactured Home Construction Safety Standards. The Manufactured Home Appraisal Report, Form 1004C, must be used for all manufactured homes. The appraiser must be provided with a complete copy of the executed contract for sale of the manufactured home and land and must analyze the contracts and provide a summary in the appraisal report. The appraiser must indicate a value conclusion based solely on the real property consisting of the manufactured home, site improvements, and land on which the home is situated. The value conclusion cannot include any non-realty items, including but not limited to insurance, warranties, and furniture. For condos or PUDs, the requirements include multi-wide manufactured homes are eligible in a condo project, PUD project, subdivision, or individual lot. Single-wide manufactured homes are not allowed. The appraisal must be completed on Fannie Mae Form 1004C, and the appraiser must inspect the project and complete the project information section of the individual condominium unit appraisal report and attach it as an addendum to this report. The manufactured home loan must be secured by a perfected lien on real property consisting of the manufactured home and land, and the manufactured home must be legally classified as real property. Evidence must be provided to document that the manufactured home is classified as real property through tax certifications or title policy to validate that both land and unit are taxed as one parcel. Ineligible property types and financing includes a manufactured home that was installed or occupied previously at any other site or location is not eligible. The home may only have been moved from the manufacturer's or dealer's lot to the current site of the home. Title held and as a leasehold estate is also ineligible. If not already considered real property, there must be evidence that motor vehicle title has been or will be purged or surrendered is required. The closing agent or title company to confirm actions taken to assure that the manufactured home has been permanently affixed to the land and that the lien is recorded. The original chassis deed or motor vehicle title must be purged, and the property must have clear, marketable real estate title. Next, we'll be covering manufactured housing information requirements that apply to our VA standard and high balance products. We will now look at some of the specific guidelines pertaining to VA and VA high balance loans. Retail loans will allow manual underwriting when allowed by product profiles, and you will follow VA Lender Handbook as well as guidelines in the VA product profile. For wholesale and correspondent transactions, AUS approval is required, as manual underwriting is not allowed. One of the benefits of using the VA or VA High Balance program with a manufactured home is that the eligibility requirements and underwriting guidelines are virtually the same as for any other VA loan. There are a few specific appraisal and minimum property requirements that we will look at in the next few slides. If not already considered real property, there must be evidence in the loan file that the process of surrendering the manufactured home title has begun. Manufactured homes must meet the VA minimum property requirements. The manufactured home and site must be considered real estate in accordance with state law and meet all local zoning requirements for real estate, title policy must contain the title Alta 7.1. The manufactured home must be placed on a permanent foundation constructed to withstand both supporting loads and wind overturning loads that meet state and local requirements. The manufactured home must be built to HUD manufactured home construction and safety standards. Also, single-wide manufactured homes are not allowed. If the VA fee appraiser has reasonable doubts as to the acceptability of the foundation system, a statement from a registered professional engineer is required. The cost approach is not required, but may be completed to supplement the indicated value in the sales comparison approach. VA appraisals for manufactured housing must be reported on Manufactured Home Appraisal Report. VA fee appraisers must identify and require correction of deficiencies or conditions necessary to ensure the subject property meets applicable VA minimum property requirements. VA fee appraisers should be familiar with state and local regulations for manufactured homes and should be able to make appropriate requirements for compliance purposes. The VA market value should never exceed the value indicated in the sales comparison approach without detailed explanation. If not already considered real property, there must be evidence in the loan file that the process of surrendering the manufactured home title has begun. Also, if the manufactured home that was installed or occupied previously at any other site or location, the home may only have moved from the manufacturer's or dealer's lot to the current site of the home. The manufactured home loan must be secured by a perfected lien on real property consisting of the manufactured home and the land, and the manufactured home must be legally classified as real property. Evidence must be provided to document the manufactured home is classified as real property through tax certifications or title policy to validate that both land and unit are taxed as one parcel. Finally, we will be covering manufactured housing information requirements that apply to our USDA product. USDA will allow purchase of new construction manufactured homes. Additionally, a purchase or refinance of existing manufactured homes are allowed as long as all USDA manufactured home and USDA program requirements are met. Additionally, for USDA, existing manufactured home units with a manufacture date exceeding 20 years from the date of loan closing are not eligible. USDA also requires HUD manufactured home requirements to be met. Manufactured homes must be one-unit dwelling, and single-wide manufactured homes are not allowed. Any incomplete items that exist, such as partially completed additions or renovations, as well as defects and needed repairs, are not eligible until the work has been completed and paid for. Finally, we will close with some final information on inputting property data in FastTrack 360, pricing, and general links. When the property type is defined as a manufactured home, the following documents are automatically included in all closing packages in FT360. Closing instructions with manufactured home specific details, manufactured home rider to the mortgage/deed of trust, manufactured home affidavit of affixation. To ensure that the manufactured home documents in FT360 are complete, please make sure to complete all applicable screens as shown in the screenshots below. You will want to complete the manufactured housing details, which is located in the property information screen. Loan level price adjustments will be on RateSheet/FT360 pricing engine. For FHA loans, manufactured housing is always considered QM per the HUD QM rule. For other products, standard requirements applies, and it must be in a safe harbor or rebuttable presumption. For specific questions regarding the manufactured homes option, TPO customers should contact their account executive, and internal staff should contact PRMG's deal desk. As always, refer to the product profiles and additional resources for manufactured homes. You can access them via the Resource Center or at the links shown here. I want to thank you for taking the time to view this training. If you have any questions regarding this presentation, please email prmguniversity@prmg.net.